Hey everybody, this one is called Do-It-Yourself Child Support Enforcement. Some people have requested that I do a video on this, and I'm running low on topics, and so this is what I have to offer. First of all, copies of these documents can be found in my private group at Yahoo called Administrating Your Public Servants. For a complete set of YouTube videos with private information, shares a DVD with over 50 searchable law dictionaries and other books and forums, contact me privately at engineerwin@yahoo. Donations to support this work are appreciated. I prefer gold or silver coin, but as an extremely less desirable alternative, I can accept the IOUs, the Federal Reserve notes, the PayPal gifts, the checks, the money orders. Send me an email for particulars. So first of all, you have to understand the nature of the jurisdiction that you're dealing with, okay? And second of all, my presumption is that you want your property back, and which means your sons and daughters, not your children, your sons and daughters. And I'm going to proceed based on that, and because I don't have a problem supporting my sons and daughters. Anyways, so the nature of the jurisdiction here is all coming from the UN and the Roman cult. Okay, you have to understand that. The people that have contacted me have been in the USA, Canada, United Kingdom, Australia. All of these countries are under military occupation and martial law rule. Watch my videos about, there's two of them that I've done in particular, is Alberta and other Canadian states are under military occupation. And the other one is called Texas and other American states are under military occupation. And you can actually show that just about every country on the planet is under a military occupation. And so all of these countries are signatories to the UNIDROIT statute. All of these countries are signatory to the Hague Convention 4 and the Geneva Convention on the Treatment of Civilians in a Time of War of 1949, and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. And again, the UNIDROIT, which brings in the Uniform Commercial Code. Okay, and so all of this is coming from the UN and the Roman cult. This is the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, Article 24. Every child shall have, without discrimination as to race, color, sex, language, religion, or social or national or social origin, property or birth, the right to such measures of protection as are required by his status. Okay, that's a very operative, important word here. Everything has to do with these Satanists has to do with words. And so a status is talking about Roman law. Okay, this is all Roman law. Okay. Anyway, status as a minor on the part of the family, society, and the state. Every child shall be registered, okay? And so there's more Roman law we're talking about there. Immediately after birth and shall have a name. Every child has the right to acquire a nationality. And that's Article 24. Article 14, all persons shall be equal before the courts and tribunals in the determination of any criminal charge against him or of his rights and obligations in a suit at law. Everyone shall be entitled to a fair and public hearing by a competent, independent, impartial tribunal established by law, not to be compelled to testify against himself or to confess guilt. And so, again, that's Article 14. This is Law and Customs of War. That's Hague Convention 4, Article 42. Territory is considered occupied when it is actually placed under the authority of the hostile army. The occupation extends only to the territory where such authority has been established and can be exercised, okay? And this is Article 2 of the Geneva Convention relative to the protection of civilians in a time of war, 1949. In addition to the provisions which shall be implemented in peacetime, the present convention shall apply to all cases of declared war or of any other armed conflict which may arise between two or more of the high contracting parties, even if the state of war is not recognized by one of them. The convention shall also apply to all cases of partial or total occupation of the territory of a high contracting party, even if the said occupation meets with no armed resistance. And so, gee, that sounds like the RCMP invading all of Canada. Okay? Just think about it. Although one of the powers in conflict may not be a party to the present convention, the powers who are parties thereto shall remain bound by it in their mutual relations. They shall furthermore be bound by the convention in relation to the said power, if the latter accepts and applies the provisions thereof. And so that's Article 2. And then Article 1 of the Liber Code. A place, district, or country occupied by an enemy stands in consequence of the occupation under martial law of the invading or occupying army, whether any proclamation declaring martial law or any public warning to the inhabitants has been issued or not. Martial law is the immediate and direct effect and consequence of occupation or conquest. The presence of a hostile army proclaims its martial law. Hello, folks. Wake up. Martial law does not cease during the hostile occupation except by special proclamation ordered by the commander-in-chief or by special mention in the Treaty of Peace concluding the war, when the occupation of a place or territory continues beyond the conclusion of peace as one of the conditions of the same. And that's Article 2 of the Liber Code. And I have never seen a Treaty of Peace that said anything about ending the martial law. And I have never seen a proclamation ending the martial law anywhere in anything that I have read. This is D.I.Y versus Turner, the non-ratification of the 14th Amendment by Judge A.H. Ella to the Utah Supreme Court. And this is, he talks about the Liber Code. This is where I got a lot of this stuff from, quite frankly. And he talks about the Liber Code. And so this is his comments on Article 3 of the Liber Code. Note, under the law martial, only the criminal jurisdiction of a military court is the recognized law. But as Article 3 says, the civil courts can continue wholly or in part as long as the civil jurisdiction does not violate the military orders laid down by the commander-in-chief or one of his commanders. By this means, a military venue, jurisdiction, and authority are imposed upon the occupied populace under the disguise of the ordinary civil courts and officers of the occupied region, district, or region, because the so-called civil authorities in an occupied district or region act only at the pleasure of the military authority. It should also be noted here that the several state legislatures, county boards of commissioners, and city councils are constantly legislating to please the edicts of the federal government, which is the occupying force. This is talking about the U.S. in this case, but you don't think it's any different in Canada or maybe in France or England or someplace? And that their legislation in this sense is not an exercise of state sovereignty, but instead a compliance with the edicts of the military force which occupies the several states and consequently are edicts of martial law rule. Hello, folks. Time to wake up. This is Article 33 of the Geneva Convention relative to the protection of civilians in the time of war of 1949. No protected person may be punished for an offense he or she has not personally committed. Collective penalties and likewise all measures of intimidation or of terrorism are prohibited. Pillage is prohibited. Reprisals against protected persons and their property are prohibited. Okay, so these are the arguments that you're going to bring up when you file a lawsuit against these suckers. So again, they're assaulting you based on their Sestake trust that they created by fraud. They're pillaging your property, okay? Think about it. That's exactly where you go with it. And they're taking reprisals against you. And now another little diversion. It's a good thing I was getting kind of worked up there. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. But I've also started a VidMe channel. That's vidme.com. And so don't forget to follow me on VidMe. And my VidMe channel is called Sovereignty International. Don't forget to follow me on Steemit, okay? And that's at Sovereignty International. Go to steemit.com. Don't forget to like this video. On YouTube, don't forget to click the bell next to the subscribe button so you're notified when there's a new upload. On VidMe, don't forget to follow to upvote this video. And on Steemit, don't forget to vote and make your comments. Okay, that's how Steemit works. And there's the front page of my YouTube channel. YouTube or Google's on this big hate for anybody they don't like that's not trumpeting their party line, and so my compensation has gone down substantially, and so I'm looking at other alternatives. YouTube doesn't like all these YouTubers, I guess, and so all these YouTubers need to go find someplace else to put their YouTube videos, and that's what I'm doing. And so there's my YouTube channel with the bell, and so you click on that bell and a little pop-up will come up and you can click OK, click the box and click OK, and then you'll be notified about uploads. This is my Steemit, okay? This is on Steemit. The first arrow at the left is pointing at a place where you can vote, to approve or like the video, basically. And I'm not sure, quite frankly, I'm still a little bit new at Steemit, but I'm not sure if just reading it gives it a vote. I'm not sure. But, and then the number of votes is the second arrow, the middle one. And then on the right-hand side is a place where you can make comments. Okay, that's with the little bubble there that looks like a comment window. And you can make comments there. Also on Steemit, what you can do is if you click on the top, this is actually someone else's article that's on Steemit. But if you click where you see the arrow pointing at the crypto wallet, and my mouse little hand is there. Well, when you click on that, this little pop-up will come up. And you can follow it. I'm already following that one, and so it says that I can unfollow it. But so then you can follow it, and so please follow me on Steemit, because then you'll be notified of new. Steemit works a little bit differently than anywhere else. You can you publish a little article, and you can attach a video, and that kind of thing. And so I basically attach YouTube videos to a summary of what the article's all about. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. This is Article 51 of the Geneva Convention relative to the protection of civilians in a time of war of 1949. The occupying power may not compel protected persons to serve as armed or auxiliary forces. No pressure or propaganda which aims at securing voluntary enlistment is permitted. That's why they can't do conscription. Okay, and so if you're volunteering for selective service in the draft, then you're volunteering for it, okay? And so actually, we need to start saying, screw you, we're not even going to be on this selective service scam. Anyways, unless you really want to go off and kill people in some field and get killed, that's up to you. You know, if the war comes here, I'll be the first one in line, but I'm not going to some foreign country, quite frankly. That's just the way it is. Anyways, Article 52, Geneva Convention, relative to the protection of civilians in a time of war, says no contract, agreement, or regulation shall impair the right of any worker, whether voluntary or not, wherever he may be, to apply to the representatives of the protecting power in order to request the said power's intervention. All measures aiming at creating unemployment or restricting the opportunities offered to workers in an occupied territory in order to induce them to work for the occupying power are prohibited, okay? And these pigs do that all the time. And so, again, these are all issues that you bring up in the litigation. Article 66. In case of a breach of penal provisions promulgated by it by virtue of our second paragraph of Article 64, the occupying power may hand over the accused to its properly constituted non-political military courts on condition that the said courts sit in the occupied country. Courts of appeal shall preferably sit in the occupied country. Well, all of these bail priests are bought and paid for whores, and so, and the courts have even said they are. So, there's another argument you bring up in the litigation. This is the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, Article 1, Clause 3. The state parties to the present covenant, including those having responsibility through the administration of non-self-governing and trust territories. Gee, that sounds like an occupied territory. Shall promote the realization of the right of self-determination and shall respect that right in conformity with the provisions of the Charter of the UN. These UN Satanist pigs. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. Okay, that's 14th Amendment. See the so-called 14th Amendment is unconstitutional video. See the U.S. citizen is a slave video. See the U.S. citizen is an enemy of the state video. See the Roman cult owns and operates the United States video. See the all courts are Roman cult courts video. A citizen of the United States is a civilly dead entity operating as co-trustee and co-beneficiary of the Public Charitable Trust, the Constructive Cestui Trust of U.S. Inc. under the 14th Amendment, which upholds the debt of the USA and U.S. Inc. And this is a summary of 5 pages of the congressional record dated June 13, 1967. And this is in Rebolens, 1912. Every taxpayer is a Cestui trust having sufficient interest in preventing the abuse of the trust to be recognized in the field of this court's prerogative jurisdiction. And this is, that's the congressional record again. How'd that happen? There we go. Went the wrong way. This is the D.C. Code, which is located at 31 Stat 1432. An act to establish a code of law for the District of Columbia, and at section 1617, it says the legal estate to be in the Cestui use. And there's more DC code right here talking about presumptions, which is located at section 252 at 31 Stat 1230, and it talks about presumption of death. So they just automatically, these statutes, these Satanist whores pass these statutes so then they can have the presumption that you're dead and go ahead and assault you based on their fraudulently created Cestui trust. That's created by the Roman cult, by the way. And this is Tomlin's Law Dictionary, 1835 edition, volume 2, under the definition of mort main. Yet still it was found difficult to set bounds to ecclesiastical ingenuity. Gee, that sounds like the Roman cult. For when they were driven out of all their former holes, they devised a new method of conveyance by which the lands were granted not to themselves directly, but to nominal fiefs to the use of the religious houses, thus distinguishing between the possession and the use and receiving the actual profits while the season of the land remained in the nominal fief was held by the courts of equity, then under the direction of the clergy. That's the Roman cult, folks, to be bound in conscience to account to his Cestui use for the rents and emoluments of the estate. That's taxes, folks. And it is to these inventions that our practitioners are indebted for the introduction of uses and trusts, the foundation of modern conveyancing. Well, think about it. I mean, the D.C. Code. So think about it. If it was the foundation of modern conveyancing in 1835, you think anything has changed today? Absolutely not. The privileges and immunities of citizens of the United States do not necessarily include all the rights protected by the First 8 Amendments to the federal government against the powers of the federal government. The only absolute and unqualified right of a United States citizen is to residence within the territorial boundaries of the United States. A Cestui trust has no rights. It is property. These people are Satanists. Everything they do is fraud and deception, and if you participate, you cannot complain. Civil law, Roman law, and Roman civil law are convertible phrases meaning the same system of jurisprudence, that rule of action which every particular nation, commonwealth, or city has established peculiarly for itself, more properly called municipal law, to distinguish it from the law of nature and from international law. That's Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. Classification of persons. The Roman law distinguished 3 kinds of personal status. Remember we talked about status or degree of legal capacity and classified human beings with respect thereto. The loss of freedom, that's in section 1, the very first section in the Law of Persons by Joseph R. Long, published 1912. Section 3, the loss of freedom, capitis diminutio maxima. A Roman citizen cannot legally be sold in slavery, but he might become a slave by condemnation for a crime or by being captured by an enemy. A person is a variety of entities other than human beings. A person is foreigners, not citizens. That's what the bail priests in the courts are saying, and this is their codes. Remember, the D.C. Code I should say, yeah, enact a code for the District of Columbia. Well, this is the United States code is the DC code codified. Whatever that means. Anyways, it's a bunch of liars get together in some room and reinterpret what was in the actual statute that was passed by Congress. Anyways, so, when using this title were not otherwise distinctly, expressly, or manifestly incompatible with the intent thereof, one person, the term person shall be construed to mean and include an individual, trust, estate, partnership, association, company, or corporation. Well, what they're saying, first of all, under justum generis, that an individual is a fictitious entity because they have to put them all same kind of things together. Okay, and all the rest of them are fictitious entities. Trust, estate, partnership, association, company, or corporation. So an individual is also a fictitious entity, a cestic trust. And they also like to use this word include, okay? And so people, brain-dead idiot sheeple out there, seem to think that include might mean that there's something else. And the courts have ruled otherwise. Include is limiting. The words person, whoever include corporations, companies, associations, firms, partnerships, societies, joint stock companies, as well as individuals. And again, it's all that's there. Include is limiting. It's not all expansive. And individuals is just another type of fictitious entity. Person means an individual, partnership, firm, association, or corporation. Texas Transportation Code. Texas Government Code. Person includes corporation, organization, governmental subdivision, agency, business, trust, estate, trust, partnership, association, or other legal entity. Include, okay, this is what the courts are saying. This is the law dictionaries, or the participial form thereof is defined to comprise within, to hold, to contain, enclose, comprise, comprehend, embrace, involve. Include is to confine within, to hold, to maintain as a shell of a nut includes the kernel. A pearl is included in the shell. Okay, so it's all limiting. This dictionary of Noah American Dictionary of English Language, Noah Webster, 1828, and Black's Law Dictionary, 6th edition. Include to confine within, to hold as an enclosure, take in, attain, shut up, contain, enclose, comprehend, embrace, involve. And so again, it's limiting. It's justum generis, a canon of construction that when a general word or phrase follows a list of specifics, the general word or phrase will be interpreted to include only those items of the same type as those listed. For example, in the phrase horses, cattle, sheep, pigs, goats, or any other farm animal, the general language or any other farm animal, despite its seeming breadth, would probably held to include only four-legged hoofed mammals typically found on farms, thus would exclude chickens. Okay, Black's Law Dictionary, 8th edition. And now another little diversion here. Announcing a subscription-based YouTube channel called Sovereignty International. The recommended cost of the subscription is currently $1.99 because it avoids the advertising only. If you like my work, it can be a donation. The only power that these New World Order Satanists have over us is through fraud and deception, and my agenda is to expose it for all our benefit. For that reason, there's not going to be much exclusive material on the channel. There is everything that I'm publishing to the regular YouTube channel, but it'll be on the subscription channel, just won't be advertising. But there's also, there's going to be some exclusive content, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. I'm currently publishing 3 videos a week on my subscription channel, 2 videos a week on the free channel. I'm kind of running out of topics. And so if anybody has any ideas on something I can publish a video on, let me know. Anyways, the people have had trouble finding the channel, and so there's a link to the channel at the bottom. Some of the exclusive content that's currently up there is an Arlington private information share. There's land deed training. There's estoppel certificates training. There's foreclosure estoppel certificates training. There's corporate denial training. There's toll roads notice and demand training. There's invoice training, notice of void judgment training, revocation of signature training, third party witness training. There's gonna be some lawsuit training, some criminal complaint training, and other training, depending on what people are gonna request. Anyways, there's the front page of the subscription channel. The top arrow is pointing to the link. The bottom arrow is pointing to the start free trial button. And the reason I'm even mentioning that is because somebody sent me $1.99 by PayPal, and I wasn't sure if it was a donation or if they wanted me to sign them up for the channel. And so I had to send them an email and offer to refund it if that's what they wanted, because I have no control over the subscribers of that channel. That channel, I can't even see all the subscribers. And so I have no control. If you want to subscribe, you're going to have to click on the start free trial button and do whatever YouTube wants you to do and sign up that way. Sorry. Anyways, so these Satanist pigs, one of the things they do is they want to make sure and hire low intelligence pigs. Okay, Leos. They screen out intelligent people in their hiring process for their Leos. And there's a case called Jordan versus City of New London, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit, case number 99-9188. Robert Jordan had a master's degree and scored too high in their test. He was too intelligent. I've had friends of mine that were turned down for the same reasons. Anyways, this is the ABC News article in New London, Connecticut. September 8, 2000, a man whose bid to become police officer was rejected after he scored too high on a test, lost an appeal from the federal bail priests against the city. And so, obviously, the bail priests want low intelligent pigs too. Satanists in America, there's a guy by the name of Mark Passio. He's a former Satanist priest. He's a brilliant guy. He's got some videos on natural law, talks about the pillars of Satanism, and we need to understand that because most of us are actually practicing Satanists. And that's what he says, and I think he's 100% right. And so, anyways, one of the pillars of Satanism is moral relativism. There's no absolute right or wrong. Truth is relative. We just make up what's right or wrong. What's right or wrong is what we decide today, and tomorrow it'll be something else. Gee, that sounds like a court case where the bail priest is sitting up there playing stupid, and this prosecutor's assaulting you with his DC codes, and if you don't know the codes, they'll sell you into slavery. That's exactly what they do. That's all satanic. 2/3, according to Passio, 2/3 of the people believe in moral relativism. I think he's generous. I think it's more like about 90%. Pillars of Satanism, forms of mind control, goes back to these order followers, okay? These Leo pigs, okay? Order followers, they're responsible for all the atrocities in history. They just follow orders without thinking about whether it's a lawful order or not. They're willing slaves. Okay, it goes back to these order follower pigs. Anyone who's wearing a military uniform is an agent of the Roman cult. This is Article 10 of the Concordat of 1933 that Hitler signed with the Roman cult. The wearing of clerical dress or religious habit on the part of layfolk is liable to the same penalty on the part of the state as the misuse of a military uniform. Almost all so-called governments are bankrupt and owned and operated by the Roman cult. See the United States is owned and operated by the Roman cult video. At common law, a sheriff would have a star only. At common law, there's no uniform. The World War II war crimes tribunals, all the Nazis claimed they were just following orders. Gee, that sounds like they were Satanists. They either suffered death by hanging or spent the rest of their life in jail. Some of them are still hunted to this day. The Vietnam War, the My Lai massacre, they were convicted of murder. Today, order followers are everywhere. I like to call them pigs. Anyways, another little diversion here. Check out my other videos. Bankster Thieves 1, 2, and 3. Churchianity series. Bankrupt corporate so-called governments. Bar members 1, 2, and 3. Do-it-yourself, how not to volunteer for the selective service. Martial laws here. Do-it-yourself, no income tax. Do-it-yourself, no sales tax. Do-it-yourself, traffic stop. Do-it-yourself, free mail. Do-it-yourself, kangaroo courts. So now we're going to get into talking about UNIDROIT. Okay, and so that's what these Satanists do, is all comes from the UN. Okay, we already talked about that, but so now we're going to get right into the right where it's going to cut to the chase. Okay, UNIDROIT stands for the Unification of Private Law, and the website says that 63 countries have adopted it. It's designed to be automatically implemented. In other words, UNIDROIT makes the changes and it filters down automatically to all of the countries below. Canada and United States have been signatories for the UNIDROIT Treaty for over 30 years. The UNIDROIT website said it's designed to be automatically implemented. UNIDROIT makes a change and all the signatories of the treaty are required to make the same changes. Okay, and this is their website. Let's get in a little closer. Talks about commercial contracts, cultural property, franchising, and this is another page. And you notice the header. This is in 2014 when I went and printed this page. Leasing, security interest, transport, banking law, capital markets, civil procedures, civil liability. So all these courts are regulated by UNIDROIT. Contracts, cultural property, franchising, hotel keepers, insurance, intellectual property, leasing, legal status of women, maintenance obligations, okay? That's all covered by UNIDROIT, so that's where it's all coming from, folks. This child support enforcement is these Satanist whores, and you have not defeated their presumptions, okay? That's what these Satanists do. Movement of persons, negotiable instruments. They always want negotiable instruments as part of their extortion racket. Mandatory insurance for motor vehicles, anything related to marriage, divorce, and children. And this is the 1955 Benelux Treaty on Compulsory Insurance for Civil Liability in Respect to Motor Vehicles, 1958 Convention concerning the recognition and enforcement of decisions relating to maintenance obligations towards children, okay? So you're putting yourself under UNIDROIT. When you got hooked up with this child support enforcement, it's UNIDROIT, it's the Uniform Commercial Code. And so you have to understand what's going on before you know how to defeat it, okay? And so this is all coming from the UN. This is the membership of the UN, showing Canada, Australia, most of Europe, most of South America, Russia, United Kingdom, United States, and now another little diversion. It's a good thing because I was getting worked up. Anyways, CubeYard.com. For great custom websites, domain names, and hostings, go to CubeYard.com. Use coupon code CY172 for 20% off your first order. CubeYard.com, your source for websites, domain names, and hosting. Back to the Uniform Commercial Code. This is section 1-206. Talks about presumptions. Whenever the Uniform Commercial Code creates a presumption with respect to a fact or provides that a fact is presumed, the trier of fact must find the existence of the fact unless and until evidence is introduced that supports a finding of its non-existence. Okay, so they're assaulting you with this Uniform Commercial Code, and you have to defeat their presumptions, and you haven't done it. This is 3.308, proof of signature, status as holder in due course. In an action with respect to an instrument, the authenticity of and authority to make each signature on the instrument are admitted, unless specifically denied in the pleadings. They're forging your signature onto a contract is exactly what they're doing. And that's the issue that you need to bring up. This is Uniform Commercial Code 8.114. Evidentiary rules concerning certificated securities. The following rules apply in an action on a certificated security against the issuer unless specifically denied in the pleadings. Each signature on a security certificate or an unnecessary endorsement is admitted. If the effectiveness of a signature is put in issue, the burden of establishing effectiveness is on the party claiming under the signature, but the signature is presumed to be genuine or authorized. So what they're doing is they're forging your signature onto a contract, and then they're presuming that it's a valid signature, and they're selling it, they're securitizing it and selling it on Wall Street. There's people that have found their criminal case after being in jail for 10 years. They found their criminal case at Fidelity Investments. And so that's what these Satanist whores are doing. And the sooner the people wake up to this, the better. So, hello, wake up. You have not defeated their presumptions. That's exactly why they're stealing your property. That's exactly why. My contact information. My blog is sovereigntyinternational.wordpress.com. My website is sovereigntyinternational.fyi. My email is engineerwin@yahoo. My YouTube profile is Sovereign Living and Sovereignty International. My Facebook community page, I deleted it due to censorship on the part of Facebook. My private group called Sovereignty International on Facebook is being deleted. It takes time to ban 17,000 people off your group, and I'm not going to let Facebook profit from my hard work. Because everything they do, that's how they make their money, is by all these people that get together in groups, and they can focus their advertising on certain kinds of people and then sell all their information to the NSA and the FBI pigs. And so that's how they make their money. So I'm not going to let them profit from my hard work. I'm going to delete every one of those people off of those groups. I'm going to ban them, and then I'm going to unfriend every one of my friends, and then I'll delete the profile. And I'll guarantee you, I tried deleting profiles before, and it always kind of like stays there because they're sitting there making money off it. But when I do all that, I've done it before too, where I did that, and that profile got deleted right now. Anyways, my Yahoo private group is called Administrating Your Public Servants. My Google private group is called Administrating Your Public Servants. Follow me on Twitter at EngineerWin. Follow me on VidMe and there's a link to my VidMe channel. And follow me on Steemit. There's my link to my Steemit profile. And so follow me there too. And don't forget to upvote and comment on the videos. Anyways, this is the Federal Tax Lien Act of 1966. Definitions: motor vehicle. The term motor vehicle means a self-propelled vehicle which is registered for highway use under the laws of any state or foreign country. A security, okay? They always want one of their securities. This is all commercial. The term security means any bond, debenture, note, certificate, or other evidence of indebtedness. Gee, that sounds like a Federal Reserve note. Issued by a corporation or a government or political subdivision thereof. I mean, it's talking, this is all under the Uniform Commercial Code. And so another problem you have is you're using their commercial terms, like register, okay? Remember, we talked about that earlier. Children have to be registered. When you registered your children because of your stupidity, then you just bought into it. But there's still a remedy, so keep watching. I'll show you a remedy. It's not going to be easy. These people are Satanists. They don't want their slaves getting away, but there is a remedy. Security, negotiable instrument, debt, motor vehicle, purchase, interest, debenture, bonds. These are all commercial terms, and there's a lot more of them. The Federal Tax Lien Act of 1966 creates the presumption. The power to create presumptions is not a means of escape from constitutional provisions, but they still create the presumptions, and unless you bring up the issue, then they just railroad you. They sell you into slavery. That's what these Satanists do. This would apply, okay, there's no treaty law internally in America, okay? That's one of the arguments you got to bring up. It would apply in any of the 63 countries that are signed on to the UNIDROIT statute, and UNIDROIT is for external contracts only. This is Mayor of New Orleans versus United States. This is actually an old court case, but the government of the United States is one of limited powers. It can exercise authority over no subjects except those which have been delegated to it. Congress cannot by legislation enlarge the federal jurisdiction, nor can it be enlarged under the treaty-making powers. And this is Bond versus United States, 2014. There's probably a case number by now, but I haven't looked it up. Anyways, but Madison insisted that just because this power is given to Congress, it did not follow that the treaty power was absolute and unlimited. The President and the Senate lacked the power to dismember the empire. For example, because the exercise of the power must be consistent with the object of the delegation. The object of treaties, in Madison's oft-repeated formulation, is the regulation of intercourse with foreign nations and is external. And so, child support enforcement equals UN equals UNIDROIT equals Satanists, okay? You are in a contract with the devil, okay? Literally. You have no idea. And so presumptions are martial law. You have to defeat their presumptions. You see the estoppel certificates video. If you're dealing with them, it's because you failed to defeat their presumptions. The first thing these order followers want is for you to give evidence against yourself. So don't give evidence against yourself. If you don't introduce the evidence, it's inadmissible. The date of birth, it's hearsay. The name is hearsay. The vehicle registration is hearsay. The insurance is hearsay. The birth certificate's hearsay. The social security number is hearsay. Everything is hearsay. If you're working under a social security number, it's a problem. They've stolen your property. The issue is that you need to bring up is they've stolen your property. They've forged your signature onto a contract and the divorce, okay? If somebody's stolen your children, it's over a divorce, I guarantee you. And if somebody's stolen your children, well, it may not always be over a divorce, but 99% of the time it is. Anyways, so the divorce is where it originated. If there was a divorce. If they ask you what to do to make a living, don't tell them anything specific. There is actually a good YouTube video with one of these a court on TV where some guy, some lady's suing this guy, and the judge asks the guy, well, what do you do for a living? And he says, well, I do a little bit of this and that, whatever I need to do to make a living. And she said, no, do you work for anybody? And she says, no, I just do a little bit of this and that, whatever I need to do to make a living. And she dismissed that case. Okay, she says she couldn't because, again, don't tell them anything specific. These people, these idiots say, oh yeah, I'm an aerospace engineer. I work for Eaton Corporation. Well, you just bought into it. Okay, and so again, you have to understand what's going on and what they're doing. Do you have a child? No. You have property. Do you have children? No. You have property. Show them a picture of your property. Do you have income? No. You get compensation for labor. Answer their questions with, I neither admit nor deny anything. Carl Lentz was able to get his son back after 11 years by filing a one-page lawsuit with the federal bail priests. Remember, they are Satanists and have nothing to do with justice. Everything they do is a denial of due process. When they deny due process, they lose subject matter jurisdiction. When they do not have jurisdiction, they cannot do anything judicial. And if they try to do anything judicial, it's a fraud and a nullity. See the void judgments video. So, what you have to do is you got to file a notice of void judgment into the case. You got to file a revocation of signatures. Well, actually, those would be optional. You have to think about how you're going to approach it, okay? You can also just file a lawsuit, okay? And if you're working under a social security number, never, ever admit it, okay? If they bring up the fact that you're working under the social security number or you're working for this company or whatever, object to their admitting hearsay evidence, okay? It's all hearsay. If you don't admit it, it's hearsay, okay? Always object to their hearsay. Anything their liar says, object to it on the basis that he's testifying, okay? Where's his evidence? Object to anything they claim on the basis that it's hearsay. That's what you got to do. And so that's about the end of it. That's how you're going to defeat this. You're going to have to file a lawsuit. You can file a notice of revocation of signatures and a notice of void judgment into the case. You'll have to think about your plan of attack and how you're going to put it all together, because sometimes you may not want to do that. Okay, you just let them bring up the issues. Okay, you just file a lawsuit and reel them in. So again, yeah, you can do that too. Okay, and so file a lawsuit and reel them in. Let them bring up their issues, and then you just say, well, he's testifying. That's hearsay. Where's his evidence? And stick to that, and you'll probably win. Anyways, that's what you got to do. That's what these Satanist bail priests do. They're a bunch of Satanists. They're thieves. They're Satanists. It's just diabolically evil what these Satanists are doing. And really, what you want, in my opinion, is you want your sons and daughters back. You want possession of your property. Okay, it's your property. I don't care what some bail priest said in the courts. That means nothing. And they're all a bunch of Satanists. Anyways, Food for thought. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching.